No matter our race, our background, or our zip code, most of us believe that for our democracy to work for all of us, it has to include all of us. Since the 2020 election, our right to vote has been under a deliberate and pervasive attack at the state level. All voters should have the freedom to vote equally, but a handful of politicians want to put up barriers to silence our voices based on what we look like, where we live, or how we vote. Here is why this matters right now.
Democrats have been so busy meddling with, manipulating, and basically fixing their entire Democrat primary process for the third presidential election in a row, by the way. But they've been so busy doing that they totally screwed up. And they have left Joe Biden, the sitting president of the United States, protector of the realm, and defender of all things holy and democratic, has been left off of an election ballot. Remarkably amazing stuff if you're watching this party work. But I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about, guys. But first, if you end up liking this content, please comment and hit the like button. If you end up loving it, share it and subscribe to the channel. You know, this is going to be a very, very important year to get conservative voices heard. And we have to do it together, man. So here's where we're at. The New Hampshire primary is coming up, and Democrats have somehow neglected to make sure that Joe Biden is even on the ballot. And they pretend in the media like it's no big deal. They say Democrats are going to prove a point and they're going to have a big write-in campaign, which is freaking insane and foolish to think about. Can you imagine wanting to vote for Joe Biden so bad that you skip everything on the page and you actually can bring yourself to write his name in? No one is going to write in his name. I promise you, no one is going to write in that name. They won't get all the way through. But even if they do, Democrats left the incumbent president off of their own primary ballot. I mean, just look what honestly could happen. I mean, it's almost like some people in the party are almost hoping that Dean Phillips gets some sort of artificial momentum boost that carries him through the following primaries, because that can absolutely happen. And that's actually highly likely to happen. So, but we got to know, why did this happen? Well, it all happened, again, because of Democrat manipulation of the entire process. You know, the starting bell has always been New Hampshire, but the Biden administration, they've been angling for, I think, a couple years now to make the first primary South Carolina, because it's his strongest state. At least it was in 2020. We'll see how it actually goes this year, but he could not have won last time without it. And somewhere in that fight between who gets to be first, they just completely dropped the ball.
New Hampshire is also holding its Democratic primary next week, but President Joe Biden will not be on the ballot and no delegates will be up for grabs. It's all because of a dispute between state election officials and the DNC. Despite that, Biden supporters and top Democrats are asking voters to show their support by simply writing in the president's name. CNN's Isaac DeVere joins us now, sharing his reporting. Isaac, what's at stake here for Biden? He's not on the ballot. Could that cause some real problems?
Yeah, it's a really weird situation. The president, like you said, is not on the ballot because of this DNC dispute about what the first primary should be. The Biden campaign is going to ignore the New Hampshire primary results no matter what happens. But Biden supporters would like to see the president not have a loss in New Hampshire, to lose to Dean Phillips, the congressman who's running, or one of the other mostly prank or perennial candidates who are up on the ballot. That requires them to, in this very low-key way, convince a lot of New Hampshire voters to go in to the voting booth and write in Joe Biden's name, because it won't be there. There are 21 names on the ballot. Joe Biden's is not one of them. That's a tricky situation. On the other hand, those 21 candidates are not very well known, any of them, and so they are going to have a hard time, it would seem, getting any level of support. Where the voters land, we don't know. All sorts of other factors here, including that independents that might have been crossing over into the Democratic primary to vote for Joe Biden seem like they might be more inclined to go vote for Nikki Haley. It's a situation that has never been seen in New Hampshire before, and we're all trying to figure out what's going to happen.
I am curious, actually, historically, have we seen this happen elsewhere or in New Hampshire before? I mean, not New Hampshire, but elsewhere before?
I think the best example would be in the Alaska Senate race a couple years ago when Lisa Murkowski lost the Republican primary and she ran as a write-in candidate and won. But in New Hampshire, there has never been anything like this on this scale. And it really even comes down to, on Tuesday night, counting the votes. How that's going to happen, people don't know.
Yeah, this will be actually really interesting and different from what we're used to seeing. Isaac DeVere, thank you so much for running through that.
Thank you.
All with us. These are interesting times, John.
Absolutely. All right. The state of
I mean, you see it right there. What an absolute total mess. You got state Democrat parties fighting over who should be first. But that's what it looks like they're fighting over. They're not fighting over who should be first. They're fighting over what is going to help one candidate more than the others. And in the process, they just decide that New Hampshire and its voters, they just aren't important. They don't matter enough, and they're not going to add any delegates to this process. So it's just a big show. And made an even better show by the fact that this is the party that supposedly fights against voter suppression. And it just proves the one voice, one vote, vote blue, no matter who crew, whatever you want to call them, they do not believe their own party propaganda nonsense. And now here they are. Now they are actually finding themselves, they're in fear of some momentum backfire, and they're running this campaign that basically says, hey, sorry we don't think you count, but if you could, please show up and write in Joe Biden in just big, proud letters across your ballot, or this really could screw things up for us, which it's incredible, man, and it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch the media as they discuss it, sort of like it just is what it is, and that's just the way it is, when we all know if this were Republicans screwing things up so incredibly dramatically, screwing an entire state out of their vote, their delegates, their right to choose who is the Democratic nominee, all we would hear about is Republican dysfunction and Republican civil war, this, that, and the other, Republican voter suppression and ballot tampering, on and on. We would never hear the end of it. And it just tells you exactly what the score is. But anyway, guys, that's just my take. I thought you'd appreciate seeing that. Let me know your take in the comments, guys. And if you haven't already, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. I'll see you in the next one.